Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Nintendo Show. We're going to take some time to discuss Nintendo, both the good and the bad, and give you our honest opinions on what we think Nintendo is doing right and wrong. I want to give an opportunity to everyone to introduce themselves. So please go ahead.
Since we're going to crop this anyway, I am Z, and I'm going to talk mostly about what Nintendo does wrong.
This is Momo. I'll be talking a lot like Z.
And I'm T. I play a little bit of everything, so I'll be talking a little bit about that, what Nintendo does right and what Nintendo does wrong as compared to what Microsoft and Sony also do right and wrong.
And I'm Jay, or Jason. I'll be your host, and I'll basically be starting the topics along and keeping them moving.
And you'll be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right, so let's get into the first topic. The first topic tonight is product scarcity. So, Nintendo's had a history of this. It goes way back. And, of course, it continues today with things like Amiibo or even trying to get a Nintendo Switch.
Now, our favorite, of course, is the NES Classic. I think none of us really expected the kind of issues that people would have getting that.
And apparently sold pretty well, something like 2.6 million units. So the interest was there. I guess they just wanted to cut supply early for some reason.
Yeah. Now, that being said, isn't that about the same number of Switches that they sold in the same amount of time? Or, pardon me, in 1 month versus how many months did they sell that?
I guess since November.
When did that, and that number came out a month or two ago, as I remember correctly. So, I mean, you know, how many people in the world look at that thing, remember their childhood, and would snap that up for $60 in a hot second? Hell of a lot more than 2.4 million people.
They need to focus on the future. That's what Reggie says. I believe him.
So prepare for an SNES Classic, right?
Yeah, it was never designed to be a full-time kind of product. They just needed something to get them through the whole holiday season. Keep Nintendo in your mind.
Yeah, not something that people could buy for the holidays, of course.
No.
But they've done this forever. We've found a lot of examples of this. Dana, you remember you finally found an F-Zero AX machine like recently, right?
Well, it was interesting because it was about 10 minutes away from where I lived in Chicago back when I kind of worked there for a little while. And I didn't know about it until after I moved back home in a different state. And when I went back to visit, luckily the arcade still had it. And it was a lot of fun. And I was happy to finally see a machine because nowhere I had looked before in the Southeast had one. That was still in like working order. So it was nice. It was a lot of fun. The pitch was kind of off. So when you'd fly off the track, you know how there's gaps in them? And you'd have to close a bit of a distance. You would end up flying straight up and lose all of your momentum. But other than that, it still played pretty well.
Do you think that was a product of it being an old machine?
I really couldn't tell you. Because I had tracked the locations of several machines like 10 years past because yeah, I wanted to play one for a really long time. So I knew of several in California. I knew of one in Tennessee and a couple in Florida as well. And I actually called up the arcades and I was wondering about, hey, do you guys still have these machines? Are they still in working order? Can I go and like visit and play? And some places didn't have them anymore. They said they had sold them and they were, they were bought by people who wanted them in their personal collections. So I don't know how that reflects like the demand at the time in general for these big cabinets. Because I mean, it had everything. Like the one that I played still had the, it would move the chair with you whenever you made a turn. So
did it still have the cartridge slot for the GameCube memory card?
I actually didn't check. I should have, but it didn't occur to me at the time. I'd imagine it did because those deluxe ones, from what I remembered, actually all had them and the little card thing, right? Because you can ask for like a little license and get
Theoretically.
Get
in
some
the
perks for
U.S.
the game.
Yeah, in U.S., from what I understand, that was never an option. I played one. I brought my memory card. I popped it in. The slot was just disabled. So I just went home with a Game Genie and unlocked all the tracks.
I think you
But
can do that in the game itself too. It's the AX tracks, right? If you play through them all and.
I was pretty sure I needed to do something. I think I needed to hack it to get them. I don't think there was any way to otherwise unlock them in the game because that was supposed to be the whole point, was you had to go unlock them in the arcade. But I unless there was a trick I missed.
No, it
But I
wasn't a
remember
trick. You
having to
just
do
had
something.
to score. Like you had to come in first place for everything, for every
I
cup.
got all stars on every cup.
So I don't know what the deal was, but you could unlock them because I didn't use any sort of device or anything like that to get the AX cup. I remember that distinctly.
Oh, okay. But we digress into a subject that might be a little too obscure for a lot of Nintendo people, right? F-Zero, a GameCube F-Zero may not have been the best subject to start with.
That's true.
I never
Amiibo,
played the
though.
AX. I
Everyone
never saw
it.
to Amiibo. So Scarcity's there. Not so much anymore. Maybe for certain Amiibo like the
Well,
Zelda.
has anyone tried to get the Breath of the Wild Amiibo after launch day?
That's true. That's
Except
true.
for Bokoblin, maybe.
Those have been pretty hard to scare up. I was able to pick up the Archer Link, was the only one I've seen pretty much since launch, and that was, I hadn't picked it up, so I grabbed it.
I still want a Guardian.
I grabbed
Guardian's
the
pretty
Guardian.
cool.
They only had them at Toys R Us around here because
That's where I saw them too.
they're huge, and I guess nobody else really wanted to.
They had a small
space
shelf.
for 'em. Yeah.
They had a small shelf at the Best Buy when I picked up my Switch pre-order that was gone by the time the pre-order people had made their way through. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I did mine at too.
And everything else.
It was a feeding frenzy. There was definitely like scalpers there too. I saw a guy that was like, he's like, "Hey, what's that big box that says Zelda on it?" And they're like, "It's special edition." He's like, nah, never mind. Just give me, no, he goes, just give me the regular one. And I'm like, this guy has no idea what he's doing. They were like, do you want the color switch or the gray one? And he's like looking at the two boxes and he shakes his head at the neon. He's like, I'll take the gray one. And I was like, this guy has no idea what he's buying. He's just like, I'm going to go to eBay.
Yeah, probably.
Luckily, the prices on eBay are reasonable. So still kind of, they're not $700 or $800.
Yeah.
Switches aren't too hard to find. They pop up so often on Best Buy, at least.
Yeah, they're like
Amazon.
The old.
Oh, go for it.
I was gonna say they're like the old Nintendo Rare. Like, right when an uncommon 3DS would come out, you really didn't have to work that hard. You just had to pay attention, and you really didn't have to work that hard to get it if you wanted it. Anybody who really wanted it was able to get one, and then, anybody who wasn't willing to put in just a little bit of effort, well, whatever.
I was a late adopter.
On which?
3DS.
Me too.
Like the Animal Crossing one with the new leaf design that had the game digitally on it. That was out at the time, and I remember looking at it and being like, I will never play that game. Look how adorable and weird it is.
Yeah.
And then months later, just like with Zelda, I didn't buy it day one when I could have got the amiibos and stuff, and then a couple weeks later, I'm like, hey, this is pretty good.
But that would have been the bad ones. The Wii, the Wiimotes, right? That was something that seemed to genuinely take Nintendo by surprise. But the Wii U Pro versus the regular version, apparently they really thought a lot of people were going to be on board with that regular version of the Wii U. Remember, for the first several months, you couldn't get the Pro anywhere.
But the white one.
You could get the white one. Yeah, the white ones were everywhere, but there was no Pros. Yeah. But the fake stuff definitely, and I know I've brought this up before. The Zelda 2, the second Zelda game, I remember seeing TV news back in the day of warehouses full of that in Japan, and them claiming, oh, we're having shipping problems or whatever. But they'd keep popping up for like a month or two before Christmas. They would keep popping up in stores here and there and cause a frenzy, and you'd hear about it, and then there wouldn't be any more for weeks. So they pulled this stuff in the 80s. And then magically a few weeks before Christmas, right? Bam, no problem. They flood the market. That was kind of what I was expecting with the NES Classic, but no. Go ahead, Mo.
I just said it's been a thing for, since NES and Super NES. There's always been like little shortages, but now it feels like they're scheduling, like they might have, we'll do 4 shipments a month of Nintendo Switches, and they'll just be like sparse little shipments, though. They're not.
Yeah. There's a cold calculation, kind of like when the Nazis went from bar fights to, industrial murder. It's that
instead of having 75 on the shelf, we'll just have 20 that disappear in a few hours.
Yeah, no, but
down to a science.
Yeah, the manipulation of the fan base, manipulation of the marketing. Like the numbers that came out today, they said that the reason that Nintendo is not seeing any profit from the Switch is because all that money is being dumped right back into the marketing campaign for it.
Yeah.
So
which they're doing better.
Sure, but they're not making any friends among the 12 million Wii U owners, which well, go ahead.
I was going to interrupt there. How do you think that affects Nintendo's image? I know it really cheeses off us as fans, but to the average consumer, when there's this high demand and low amount, do they just forget about it and go on to the next thing? Or is this really detrimental to Nintendo?
I think it's a mix, and I think they're trying to manage that. Leading into our next topic, Mario Kart 8, right? There's the core fan base that feels pretty bitter about that hey, here's Mario Kart that contains all the pieces that were missing, but they're conspicuously missing from the Wii U version, and we'd like you to pay full price for it again after paying full price plus $20 for DLC. That's a slap in the face. And however they market that, I just don't know. As Momo, you can say it. Who is Mario Kart 8 for? Deluxe?
It's for the people that didn't own the Wii U, and I think a lot of it is going to be like that for a while, where products are going to come out and not necessarily be something that Wii U people will be bowled over by, but since it's their first experience on the Switch, I think people who skipped the Wii U will experience these games for the first time, and it'll be great. And I saw Nintendo today did an accolades trailer of all their high reviews and ratings for Mario Kart 8, and I was like, I guarantee you some of those are probably from the Wii U reviews.
I would bet most of them are. And it's how many people? There's 3 million plus Switches out there now. Well, that was the first month that they sold 2.7, right? So so they've potentially not, they haven't doubled that, but they've added to that at this point. They've sold over 3 million Switches, but they sold 12 million Wii U's over its lifetime, and I still would bet that the vast majority of Switch owners out there are people who own the Wii U, people who have Mario Kart 8, and people who are going to feel pretty burned about it. But you're right. The vast majority of the general public, the people who jumped on Pokemon Go for a week, those people will be like, hey, new Nintendo console. I haven't played one of those since I was a kid. Oh, hey, there's this new Zelda that's super well reviewed, and there's this Mario Kart, and there's all this great stuff. And I can't find it anywhere, and I better be able to find it within the next month or so, or I'm not going to remember or care anymore. I think that's your average consumer, to your point, Mo. And
yeah, I think most of the people that they're hoping to sell to are not the people like us that are reading news or watching videos or know what's going on. They're trying to catch the bigger audience that's going to walk by, see the red Nintendo logo that they just rebranded a few years ago back to red, and go, hey, I used to have one of those when I was a kid. I've got some extra money now. Maybe I'll pick one up.
Yeah, they're trying to reach the people at the other tables at the restaurant peeking over my shoulder when I'm showing it to friends. That's who they're trying to reach.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you guys, kind of in this vein. Would anything convince you to change your mind and actually pick up Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at any
Free.
point. Just if it was free.
Yeah, I might. I actually might. I bought it on Wii U hard disk and got Pikmin 3 as the free reward, which is the best reward I've ever gotten from Nintendo. And the disk drive on my Wii U quit working. I didn't rebuy it digitally. Now that they've added the bumper lane type thing, I've got a small child, and I could have, her play with me, and she could stay on the track and kind of keep up with that new white Tanuki mode that they've added to Mario Kart 8, where you don't even have to have your hands on the controller to finish the race. So that's kind of a neat thing, but I'm not buying it day one. I would love to see it drop, but I don't know how long I'll wait.
I'll wait till Thanksgiving when my next big family get together is. And then I'll decide if I need to cart the Wii U over to my family gathering or not at that point. If it's Nintendo Selects for $20, maybe. But I'm just offended. I'm truly offended that we're not offered something, even lip service, for God's sakes.
But I don't know what their money that they put into that game was versus what they got out of it on Wii U, because I'm sure.
Well,
they
sure, but
when it started development, they were probably expecting more people to have a Wii U in their home. So they might be just looking at it as, here's our chance to finally sell as many copies as we should have sold before, and for the same price. And the Wii U are the silent majority
majority
right
of
now.
people who bought them. Yeah, no, that's that. Yeah, it's just it's.
They could do something. They didn't, like with the Wii U. They had the was it Digital Deluxe program?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Like
yeah. You get 5% credit, rounded down as harshly as possible, if anybody remembers that.
But it was
Yeah.
still
It's better.
something.
Yeah, better than what we got now, which is absolutely nothing. Once you count wallpapers as something.
But the fact that they can link now your Nintendo ID to what your purchases were, it's hard to tell with game save data, because I always thought they could just read your game save data and see what you owned. But I mean, that would work for rentals and stuff too. So I guess it would be too easy to cheat the system for Wii U people. But
now that would sell me. I would be looking into picking up Mario Kart 8 Deluxe if I could transfer my save data from the original Wii U version. Put so many hours into it. If I could keep that, then that's looking much more appetizing.
Yeah, I'd pick up an extra license for the Switch if that was an option, but having to go through and do all that over again, I'm not so keen on wasting.
One of my coworkers said that today, that he's like, I spent too much time getting stars on all those tracks to do it all over again.
Well, from what I understand, pretty much everything's unlocked from the get-go anyway, so I don't know that there's all that much motivation to do it. And again, I got bored halfway through getting all the stars on Mario Kart 8 anyway, because I kind of had picked up Mario Kart 7. Mario Kart 7 came out like the year before or something, and I'd played the crap out of that. Same thing with Mario 3D Land and 3D World. It's not about that for me. It's about the social aspect, because I got family that always wants to come over and play it. Like I had some kid say a nephew or something that demanded I bring Mario Kart over for his birthday a month or two ago. That's why I have it, is the social aspect, and the fact that I have to cart around a giant, really, let's be fair, 2-generation old console to do it is kind of maddening.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. I'm not taking it anywhere.
And see, our use cases are different. See, that's why I like the Switch. That's the main reason I was on board with it.
Well, you're the Nintendo party game fan that they think exists.
And outside of myself, doesn't, as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's less and less. Yeah, I mean, I remember going to parties and people playing Guitar Hero and stuff like that.
Yeah, there are people excited about Jackbox and all those things on the Switch. It's just
because they've been on PlayStation and Xbox, probably.
And Steam and everything else. Yeah, exactly. I'd like to point out that the recently announced Payday 2 that'll no doubt come out to Switch for $60. I think
And it's
it's
3 or
been
4 years old.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 years old, and it's been I think $3 on Steam. Recently, like literally, this is a $3 PC game.
It's something they did well with, like, Mass Effect and some of the Call of Duties. Nintendo knows that a lot of their fans live in an isolated bubble where they're only playing Nintendo systems, so they can sell you something generations old because it's new to you.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, we finally get a Payday. Hey, we finally get Skyrim 6 years after everybody else.
We got Minecraft last year.
But it's portable.
Yeah.
It's got
Well, now it is, yeah.
They stick Mario on the cover, and then, oh yeah, this is an all-new game.
Yeah, they advertised that Mario DLC with the Switch version.
I expect a return to the conspicuous licensing out of Nintendo properties like they used to in the 80s. That kind of dried up a little bit after a while, and then I think it'll be coming back. Right, Mario Teaches Typing. Does everyone remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or the
Carmen Sandiego Mario games.
Yeah, or the ones that came out on the 3DO. As part of some licensing agreement.
Hotel Mario is one of them.
Really?
I believe Hotel Mario was, the name of the Mario one, and there was a Zelda one that I don't know the name of.
Yeah,
yeah. Mario Kart 8. How about
not canon.
Yeah.
We're on the timeline. Where on the Mario timeline does that fall?
What, Mario Kart 8? Or the 3DO
3DO.
Mario game?
The 3DO
It's the
Mario.
forgotten one. That was Philips CDI, I guess. That was CDI.
Was that CDI? Am I
Yeah.
mixing those up? It was the Philips CDI.
Yeah.
Those
It was one of the non-successful consoles.
Yeah, and like the games were played with like a TV remote, like it was a joke. It was a terrible. Yeah, no, those are not canon. Those are like the Virtual Boy. Their existence is denied from here on out.
You know how you know they're not canon? Because Nintendo's never tried to resell them on every system they've released since.
That's true.
Well, let me get into this. If we're talking about consoles or ideas being failures, by Nintendo jumping into Mario Kart 8 and just basically selling it like it's brand new, is that in a way admitting that the Wii U was indeed a failure?
It absolutely is.
Yeah. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, it's not going to be a cheerful thing to say, hey, this was one of the best games for our failed console. It's better to just not acknowledge it at all and say, hey, this is a new game. We've added the word Deluxe and a battle mode.
That after the battle mode, it's the only version of Mario Kart 8 that was ever missing a battle mode.
Yeah.
And make no mistake, it was missing battle mode. Running around a giant track with up to 4 whole people on it, where you never see anybody until the timer runs out, is not a battle mode. I'm sorry.
Well,
without proper environment, the mechanics don't work. Go ahead, Mo.
With Nintendo's kind of George Lucas marketing strategy of just reselling you the same stuff over and over again, that might be part of their thing. Is now, instead of selling us the same Mario game from our childhood, they can sell you the Mario game from a few years ago. And it doesn't hurt them if you want it that bad. And this is different because this is a portable experience. And I'm sure Reggie could tell you why they're doing no wrong right now.
Okay, this subject depresses me. What do we think about ARMS?
Yeah. I am not sold on it.
I tried it.
Zero interest. Yeah.
The motion controls, I'm up for the gimmicks. I want the gimmicks. I want the motion controls. I liked Punch Out. I really did on the Wii. I just don't think it's going to quite work.
It's a rental for me. Like I said, I live in an amazing part of the world where you can still rent video games, and they rent Switch games, and that would be a perfect one. That even though now it costs $7 to rent a video game, it would be worth $7 to just play it for. I think they give it to you for a week, and you'll pretty much know where you're at on which side of the fence probably after a week. And maybe, there's plenty of Nintendo games that I'll buy and play for less than a week and never pick them up again. So I would rather probably try that one first to make sure that it's not that experience. We'll see. They think it's going to be big. They say it's a deep fighter, and I guess we'll see.
Yeah, they're selling it.
Go ahead, Jake. Well, the direct footage actually convinced me that it was worth looking into, because I had written it off as just some, gimmick, just a very shallow gimmick to utilize the Joy-Cons and the motion controls. But it looked like, with the upgrades and with the different characters and whatnot, I'm going to give it a shot if I get the opportunity to. It's not something I would probably purchase day one, or it definitely wouldn't convince me to buy a Switch. But I'm
It'll
intrigued.
convince you to buy Joy-Cons.
No. I'm intrigued, but not convinced.
If I could buy a single yellow.
What do you think, Jay?
Does anyone else think this game looks a whole lot like Pokken Tournament? Am I the only one that sees that? It's a very simplistic fighting game, and they're just kind of selling it as,
Did you play Pokken Tournament?
I just played the demo. I played it quite a bit, but it never convinced me to buy the whole game.
To me, simplistic isn't really a word I would use to describe it. At least to me, the fighting mechanics seemed a little overly complicated.
It's in tournaments now. I mean, that's one that people play competitively.
Yeah, and I see message boards, people ranting and raving for it on the Switch. So there's a fan base for it out there, but I don't know, man. I like me some fighting games, but this one just something about it was very difficult to get into for me.
Do you think they're going to announce how they'll resell you Smash Brothers at E3 this year?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Same way they're doing with Mario Kart 8.
Yep, and I don't think we'll get. I think we're gonna get shit. I think we're gonna get no DLC characters for the Wii U. Right? See, that was to me. Jumping back to the Mario Kart 8 subject, that to me was that like the barest level give me that they could have given me would have been, hey, at least give me a DLC update to Deluxe on the Wii U. At least give me a battle mode on the Wii U that should have been in there in the first place. Why not? Come on, guys.
Do a software update.
Yeah, give me an update to at least give me the same version. And hey, I'll even pay you $10 for it or something. But there's not just. It's just like they cut the cord on us. Us loyal Wii U owners. The cord has been cut. It really feels like we're not getting much of anything. I don't even know if we're going to get VC stuff. This really makes me wonder.
Yeah. From Wii U to FU.
Well put.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I don't know. They, like I said, I think we're a smaller audience of people, and they're trying to cater to the blue ocean.
Yeah, but I would argue we are the reason they're still in the hardware business at all. Is the 12,000 people that bought the Wii U and the loyalists that kept the 3DS afloat until they did the massive price drop.
We're their welfare check.
Yeah, exactly, and we have been, and
until they get a job,
we get and we get no payback. We get nothing.
Yeah, that might just be how they work. I mean, it's a numbers game. Although it did seem like, at least with the Wii U, they kind of walked on eggshells about stuff a little bit. And, they gave you the virtual console, like you said. And, there are things like that. Although they're still selling you the Wii games for $20 a piece on virtual console now on Wii U. So, I mean, there's, there wasn't that many probably hardcore Wii loyalists that are feeling burned. Most people probably bought that console, played it for less than 6 months and put it in a closet. So
agreed, but the console also had an exceptionally long lifespan. It really ran for a long time. The Wii U, they kicked it out for 3 years. They gave us a couple good games and 8-month droughts in between, and then thank you for playing. We're moving on to this now. If you want to continue to play, you need to drop another $300.
Yeah.
And
But let me ask you, when was the last time you played Mario Kart 8 on Wii U?
a few weeks ago,
So you
socially,
weren't done with that game?
friends over, right? That's the only time it comes out.
Yeah, I mean,
Somebody
I feel
comes
like I'm
over.
done with it.
I'm done with it unless somebody wants to play it. Unless I've got
Yeah.
people over and somebody wants to fire it up.
I've still got some time trials I haven't completed yet, so I'll probably pick it up and finish it at some point before I move on.
You're a dedicated fan.
Is that a uniquely Nintendo thing to buy a game so that you can show other people when they come over?
Well, yeah, that's their party game mentality, right?
Yeah. But also because the other person's never seen it because it's Nintendo.
Yeah, that too. I agreed. When I break out the Wii U every year at my family gathering, it's a novelty, right?
Yeah.
That's nobody else has one. Nobody's even
I
really
heard of
seen
that.
one aside from mine. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that has that paint shooting game, right? Show me that.
Yeah, because they get some coverage. I mean, people who are outside that go to those just overall video game sites will read Nintendo blurbs and be like, yeah, that sounds kind of interesting, or I heard they had a good game. Like with Zelda, I get a lot of that. Yeah, I heard it's pretty good. I'll never know.
Yeah, no, exactly. How many people out there really are like, oh, I gotta go drop $360 to play the new Zelda game?
Yeah.
I don't know. Right now we're still in the original. It's still people like us buying the thing. Your average
And at least with
consumer.
that one, they didn't burn Wii U people because it came out at the same time.
Yeah, and I actually appreciate that because despite saying I have all the consoles, I have the current gen ones for Microsoft and Sony, but I haven't picked up a Switch yet because I don't feel like it's worth buying, because mostly for Zelda, actually. If I
Yeah.
could play it on the Wii U, why, drop $360 and just for a Switch, and
That was
then
another
set it
slap to Wii
aside.
U people. That was another slap to Wii U owners. Here you go. Here's your Zelda. You don't get a special edition. You get a bare disc.
Yeah, I just want a gamepad integration like they originally had. Like, why did they have to remove that?
Because they
I mean,
didn't want the Wii U to be the definitive version. They didn't want anybody to be able to say that.
that makes sense, but
And now
I
they
don't
can
really
say
have that much
you
of a
both
difference.
have the exact same experience.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they did it. And it's yet another example of them not choosing the best option for the consumer, but the best option for them. And again, under Iwata, at least they paid lip service. At least they came on and he really looked, genuinely remorseful and would say, please understand. And now what do we get? We get Michael Knight in a butterfly collar, waving Joy Cons around and laying on a couch, and somehow it's not the same.
Yeah, it's definitely a different direction.
Which that kind of brings us into the next topic, which is Nintendo Directs. Definitely a new approach, and again, we see Michael Knight on the couch here.
Yeah. Can somebody pronounce his name
Like,
for me? Sorry, Dana. Go ahead.
well, I mean, what are you gonna do, right? You lost a key presenter, and
Who was respected.
exactly, and well known and appreciated,
and liked to be the public face.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now with Kimishima, I can't remember the last time I actually saw him. Was he in the last direct? Was he in any direct? Was he at E3 last
He
year?
was at the big Switch event that was live streamed and confusing.
Yeah, he was the
points, but with a big
log in the
reveal.
middle of the stage for most of it.
Yeah. He was the one who looked upset, even though he was trying to be happy.
I remember. It's all coming back to me now. But yeah, I mean, what direction do you take directs after that? Like, I kind of like their new format, the rapid fire announcements, but I had to watch the last one twice just to parse everything that they were throwing at me.
I was
Oh,
trying
and
to
that,
look at that screen and see what's coming next. What
Yeah,
else are
that's
they
what
announcing?
that
I was
just made
hoping
it
there
more
was going to be like a
confusing.
huge announcement,
we should know better by now.
like a Grand Theft Auto just at the bottom.
So what about their indie emphasis? Are we? They really are focusing. There's been reports, right, that there's certain indie developers that they're cozying up to, and then the rest are really feeling like they're getting shut out.
Yeah.
You kind of follow the developer scene a little more. Do you have any insight on what's going on there?
I know of one developer in particular, or somebody who works with a particular developer. I'm trying to be vague here to not point out anybody
Of
specific,
course.
but and they were saying that despite trying for quite a long time, they weren't able to get a game that they wanted on Switch day one, despite having a really good relationship with Nintendo prior to that. Aside from that, I can't pinpoint specific developers because I saw the article where a few of them came out and said, you know, we don't know what happened, we don't know what changed, but Nintendo's suddenly not our friends anymore for whatever reason. And
The quote I keep hearing floated around is we're looking for games that'll sell consoles right now.
Yeah, we want the big boys. Give us Binding of Isaac. Give us Stardew Valley.
Give us something that's got buzz.
Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
So why ignore all of the previous Wii U games then? The ones that actually sold well, even went so far as to sell consoles in some cases. You know, well-known indie titles and indie developers are getting shafted here, and they don't know why.
I don't see
don't
a
know.
Shantae game on the Switch. I don't
Right.
see
Way
there's a
Forward
lot.
Anywhere on there?
Not that I see.
I don't think there's anything by them. I think at the time Wii U needed indies because that's all they had. And now they've kind of got a fresh start, so they feel like they don't have to be as dependent, so they're being
But
more picky.
at the same time, they're really trying to make a big show of being an indie-friendly platform.
Well,
right?
Find a middle ground, right?
Well, and as I think we've discussed before, the virtual console being conspicuously absent at this point in the game, to me, smells like they really are trying to leave it a blue ocean for the indies, at least for the time being. That's, and
Tied
hey,
to the internet service.
Pardon?
It'll be tied to the internet service, so I think they're waiting on any virtual console announcements because they've already said they were going to have virtual console games that would be multiplayer, what have you. So they're probably just holding out, and I bet they don't even know yet what all they're going to do with their internet service. They've got to get an idea by now.
I think it's a fair bet that there is still question marks on their side. But yeah, I at least from the perspective of the average consumer, that as you say, not us, Momo. The average consumer is looking at this and saying, this is, hey, there's all these indie titles that are coming out. This looks great. This is, Nintendo's money on their marketing.
I've read about this game somewhere.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what they're looking for. I think right now is just name recognition and something to get their foot in the door.
And somehow we got a little sidetracked from our Nintendo Direct discussion there.
That's true. I like the new format. I like any format if they can just get information to us and try to let us know that there's something going on. That's nice.
Without weird play acting skits or
Bill
stupid teasers.
Yeah, like no donuts, no sunglasses, just what's going on.
Well, before we trail off and die, do we have any fun to make of Koizumi? Am I pronouncing it wrong?
I think that's right.
Nah, that sounds about right. Nah, I mean,
like you said, I think he's a cyborg.
You think he's a cyborg? I think he's pretty charismatic, and he's a good fit for, Nintendo's whatever image they're trying to present right now in lieu of Iwata. So I can't really say
It's
anything
weird.
bad about him, honestly.
He's very new. Like I said, for someone to be in the role he's in, it's odd to me that I didn't really know him before. I don't even know if I saw him before or ever paid attention to that guy before. And it was
Yeah, I'm
just like,
pretty
who's
sure
this
everyone,
guy? Where did he come from?
as soon as he was introduced, everyone went straight to Google to check out
Yeah.
what he's worked on.
He was in Hard Boiled, right?
The comic?
No, the John Woo movie.
No.
Like,
No, I missed
right?
it. He does look pretty mean. Like he looks like
He looks
could
like
be
a
a villain.
gangster. Yeah, he looks like a gunslinger or a gangster from a John Woo movie to me, or like the bad guy from a Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah. With just a little bit of To Catch a Predator.
just a hint.
There's something off about him, but I don't know. As long as they've got somebody giving us information, that's the one thing that I feel like Nintendo does maybe better, even if it's just differently than other companies. But the way that they get information out is a very personable way to be like, here's a little mini presentation we made for you, and it's lighthearted, and here's the stuff.
But that was Iwata's idea, right?
I think it really started with him, yeah.
And
Just
now that
before
they're
his press
rolling with
conferences.
it just doesn't have the same heart. Now it feels.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
I just said I completely agree. I mean, it felt very much like, even with Koizumi in there, fell in his hands, you still just basically reading off a bulleted list, and some of it was so fast before you can process what you just saw. Oh, we're talking about something else. And I think that kind of, after you leave the presentation, you pretty much forget what you just saw. At least I did.
Yeah,
They might be thinking, why do a video at all? Because all we have to do is mention these headlines, and that's how it's going to go out to the people who want to know. It's going to end up on video game websites, and so
That's
all we
true.
really have to do is give you these headlines, and you can just summarize these headlines.
Yeah,
You
just
don't
get
need to watch the direct.
a press release out there with everything and easy to read bullet points.
Yeah. It's nice that they show you, though, because it is probably difficult to just give you a press release and say, we've got this game coming out, and you don't see it. So, like Splatoon is a concept that you really had to kind of see to understand. So that does help them, because some of their games are so far out that it's nice to be able to see it, because some of them, they can tell you the concept, but they really have to show you the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Like Captain Toad.
ARMS as well. I'm sure a lot of people were convinced that it was worth checking out after they saw.
Or Project Giant Robot.
That too.
Rest in peace.
Well, we get the Star Fox game.
No.
We got something at least.
We wouldn't have played it for more than like a half hour anyway.
Probably free to play or free to start, so save us all money, right?
That seems to be their new thing. They are jumping on board of the modern DLC and different models, which I saw that they said that Fire Emblem is actually doing better. They've made more off Fire Emblem than they've made off of Super Mario Run, which I thought was interesting, but it makes sense that they're not even getting 10% of people who download it to actually buy it, because people aren't going to pay $10 for a mobile game.
On the flip side of that, they Super Mario Run was downloaded many times more than Fire Emblem. So that's an interesting point that Fire Emblem's making more money with far fewer downloads.
It's a lesson for them that in the mobile environment, you have to make your money $1 at a time, not $10 at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with Super Mario Run. That's more of a casual audience, but with Fire Emblem, I think they're really, digging in more to the fan base that's there.
People like us, yeah.
Right, yeah.
I think most of that money is probably coming from Japan.
Maybe, but Super Mario Run's not for us, and Fire Emblem is for us.
Hey, hang on a second. Super Mario Run, I thought, was more difficult, more challenging than New Super Mario Brothers U or Wii or 2 even, because of the the dark green or the black coin challenges later on. Like, you have to really know what you're doing. It's not a platformer so much as it is a puzzle platformer. So I wouldn't say it might start off casual if that's, like that was my first impression anyway of it. And then the more I played, the more coins I try to collect. You could see that there was some depth to the mechanics.
Understood, and I give the gameplay that credit, but I think right from the marketing perspective, the fact that it's a Mario game, right?
That's what I was going after. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were banking on the Mario name was just going to be dollars, but you have to get $1 10 times, not $10 one time.
Yeah, no, and the Mario name was banking on that, but it got downloads, not dollars.
And I bring this up, well, at least I brought up the difference between what I felt, the game was versus what was marketed, specifically because a lot of people refused to download it, or they just played the demo and they're like, well, this isn't for me. But in the end, the demo I felt wasn't quite an accurate representation of the real game. So I've had to correct a lot of people and say, no, it's not an endless runner. It's nothing like that at all. But that's kind of what Nintendo was pushing it out to be, essentially. Or that's
because that was something that had a buzz, like right? The general public's heard of these endless runner games, but they probably never tried one.
You can play this game with one hand.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of their marketing. Like, one hand is all it takes to play this game.
Right, the same way Breath of the Wild, open world games are not a thing anymore to anybody but the Nintendo core.
You mean open air games?
But there's been all sorts of, Skyrim was the one that everybody was talking about years and years ago, right? These big open world games, and Nintendo just hasn't had anything like that. So they did it, and they did it well. And I would almost argue it's, they nailed it in a way that others haven't, but it's definitely not the perfect open world game by any means.
It's a best of other open world games.
To a degree. And I would argue that was what made WoW as successful as it was. Is it was everything about World of Warcraft is lifted from pop culture, sword and sorcery lore, and everything is inside. All the dialogue is inside jokes and references to other things, Lord of the Rings, or the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, or pick your poison. There was some geeky reference buried in World of Warcraft and just built into the world itself. Orcs. That's not original.
Speaking of lore and the Nintendo Direct, where does Hey Pikmin fit into the timeline? Nobody cares.
I think I heard it was a prequel.
I don't know. I don't really care when it comes down to it.
That's the answer I was looking for.
It's like the Star Trek reboots. You go back in time and you blow up the universe so that you can just do whatever you want and you don't have to worry about canon. There's
a lot of people pre-crapping on that game. I'm really not sure what to think of it because I really love Pikmin, but I'd never been a big fan of the use of two screens as one simultaneous image that they did on a few of the DS games. I think Contra 4 was kind of like that, where the top screen and the bottom screen were all play surface. And I don't know, it's weird.
And Arzest made it, and they were responsible for Yoshi's New Island, which a lot of people who played it said it was terrible.
It is a budget title.
Yeah, I didn't get the same impression. It was a decent game. I played a little bit of it, actually. I didn't play very far into it, but that's kind of a mark against it, I guess. People are going to be less willing to try it out if they relate it to Yoshi's New Island, I guess.